level rates for 20 years. And if you're a smoker, we have great rates for you as well. At the Term Lifeline, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. So if you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call right now for a free quote.
Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes are based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting exam required to qualify. 800-803-2142. 800-803-2142. 800-803-2142. That's 800-803-2142.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395. 800-709-4395.
You're listening to Joco Community Radio.
So they decided, let's give them a show.
There we go.
Got the mics and time slot ready to go. It was too late before they realized. Holy crap, we left him unsupervised.
Fancy on this now.
All right, what's up, bitches?
Woohoo!
Wow. So,
hello, Karma.
Biscuit Bitch, I like it.
Yeah.
Is that an actual place in Seattle, Washington?
Seattle it is, yeah.
Nice. Biscuit Bitch.
Yeah.
And we got Dog Poop, Biscuit Bitch, and I got a blue shirt because I'm lame. This was the first thing I stepped on.
We've got all our bases covered now.
So welcome to James G. Unsupervised with Philip and Mike. So today, I actually had someone recently, this was like 3 or 4 days ago, they were kind of talking about, they're like, so what's the show about? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know. Is it comedy? Is it, are you having serious discussions? I'm like, yes. Like, I don't really want it to have a direction at this point because we don't have enough viewers to have a direction at this point. I mean, quite honestly, so it's like, we're going to talk and see where the show goes in that kind of a sense. And they're like, oh, that's cool. I said, yeah. I said, that's kind of why it's unsupervised because we really don't know. And I don't want it to have that kind of one because I had the comedy show that was like, okay, it's got to be comedy for this long. And then I had my In the Arena show, which was motivation and depression talk and all this. And it had to be that. And I'm going, I don't want to be limited because both of those sides are me.
Right.
So it's like they're the same guy, right?
Sure.
The guy who talks about his suicidal past and the depression that he's been fighting, and then the goofy, funny guy. I mean, it's all the same guy. So I'm like, why should it be two different shows? So I don't really know what's going to come up,
So we're going to do funny suicide?
Yeah, we're going to do funny suicide because it's hilarious.
Is it, though?
Is it, though? It sucks.
It's very niche market.
Well, yeah.
Right.
I mean, it is a very niche market.
Let us know if we hit that.
Then there's someone else that were talking about. It's like, you got all this stuff going on. I think how do you stay motivated and how do you keep going? And here's the real truth. This is why I want to talk about this today is because
alcohol.
beer helps.
Oh.
No, the truth is I'm struggling extremely hard to do anything right now. And so, and I know that especially with us three guys, is we've all become good friends and stuff, is that we all share that.
Sure.
And so I do a lot of listening motivation. We get a lot of reading, the Zig Ziglars and the Tony Robbins and all those guys. I just listen and listen and listen. And so this morning I was, because now once you've listened enough, you've had enough therapy and you've read enough books and stuff that you know how you're feeling, several resources you can go to remind yourself what to do, because it's that education part of that,
sure.
Right? And your brain will be like, oh, I know what I need to do to get out of this funk, but your body's like, I'm just going to lay here, right? So that's the battle. So I have to go back to, okay, what do I know works? What do I know works? So one thing that one of Tony's books talked a lot about that really affected me, he has a couple of, free YouTube things you can go, and I'll give people links if they want, but it talks about the people's blueprint for their life. Right. Like everyone has this, blueprint where, if I could be this and this and this, and this is how I always vision my life and blah, blah, blah. Well, most people rarely reach that. Some blueprints might be, he was talking about this, is an actress, very famous, gorgeous, tons of friends, very successful. Everyone likes her, blah, blah, blah. But very miserable, like a lot of a lot of depression, stuff like that. So her blueprint, as he goes, I finally got to her. We're finally talking. I finally started getting to her blueprint. Her blueprint is, well, I just always thought I'd like have, my wife or my husband and 3 kids, and then this whole thing. And it just, she's like, I'm kind of at an age now where he's like, well, why don't you adopt? I mean, you have all the resources. And when she's like, no, it's got to be like my blood kids and all that. So he keeps digging and keeps thinking. What it really comes down to is what she ended up saying. It was like, well, my blood kids, they'll love me unconditionally no matter what. If they're my blood kids, right? Which unfortunately is not true.
Right. I mean, that's not always the case anymore.
Yeah. And the other thing, but the other thing was, it came down to, she just wanted that unconditional love, because all this other stuff she understood was earthly, superficial.
Right.
And even though she didn't live her life that way, but anyone else might look at it and go, her blueprint is perfect.
Right.
And it possibly is. And I really struggle with that, because I think I've had conversations with people going, well, you get to do this and do this. And it's like, my blueprint is so freaking off where I want it to be happy. But then again, it's that whole grass is greener on the other side stuff. So I know you guys have that same struggle, right? Where
Absolutely.
what you think what the blueprint should be. And so what do you do? I mean, I know for me, it's like, okay, I got to go back to the resources and I got to figure out. And the sad truth is 9 out of 10 people accept it and just live through life until they die.
Sure.
I think one of the interesting things, I heard Rob Lowe on an interview where he was talking about, one of the things that surprised him the most was once he got the fame and he got the things that he thought would make him happy, those were never things that brought him happiness.
Mm-mm.
It wasn't until he found internal peace and found himself to be happy with himself where he found actual joy. And I think if we're always chasing the other thing and not focusing on ourselves, that's where we get lost.
It's that thing. And so the real truth is that you have the blueprint I think you want, and I think people have the blueprint that they think society thinks they should have. Right.
Yeah.
And, like, not throwing her completely under the bus, but my ex-wife has this blueprint of what everyone's life should look like. Right. And I'm like, well, and including ours, but my blueprint wasn't at all. I went along with it because I was in a bad mental space. I wasn't mentally healthy and I wasn't taking care of myself in that aspect. And so I just kind of,
that person's judgmental. I can tell by looking at them.
That's right. I can tell someone's judgmental just by looking at them. Oh, well, okay.
I resemble that remark.
I resemble that. Yeah. Guy's an asshole. Anybody with a haircut like that's got to be an asshole. But it's true because everyone, the grass is greener bit and the blah, blah, blah. But the truth is that I didn't have, my blueprint was I want to create and I want to be my own boss and I want to get wealth. I want to buy time with money so I can do the things I wanted to do. Right. Because that's all money does.
Right.
Buzzy time.
Yeah.
And so, because people are like, well, you came into a lot of money. What would you do? And I'd be like, well, there's a few things that I would drop, but most of what I'm doing, I'd still be doing, except at a much better rate and a much better level, because that the weight falls off your shoulders of how do I pay the bills, blah, blah, blah. I said, and so I know I'm close to my blueprint. And I think what's hard is that I think I'm close to my blueprint that would really, really make me happy, but it's not functioning correctly yet. And that's almost harder because it's just like
you're like so close. It's right there in your grasp. But
it's almost easier. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people would be like, well, I just don't understand how you can, people can live in this like depressed state. And I was like, oh, I totally get it. It's so great. It's they look at me weird. I'm going, when I went through that, it was a nice, warm, cozy blanket. I understood it. I didn't have to feel anything. I didn't have to, I said, it's all total lies and bullshit.
Right.
I mean, it's what it is. You're lying to yourself. I said, but I totally understand why people do that because it's comfortable. Nothing can harm me. Now, the problem is you're numbing everything because you can't selectively numb.
Right.
So that's why I was never finding happiness or success or anything like that. I never had a big problem with the fear of failure in the sense because I knew it was inevitable. But what I didn't understand is you actually have to seek out failure to be successful. Right. And so people are like, well, you should be successful soon. You failed all kinds of stuff this last couple of years. Well, thanks. Screw you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're right, but don't be a douche.
Right. They need you to remind me of that.
Yeah.
So.
But it's fine though, because I'm like, and it's true, and if anyone can laugh about it, it's me because that's my ultimate medicine, But there's a time where I'm like, yeah, it's real hard right now because it's like I understand fail early, fail off and fail forward. I agree with that. It's a Will Smith thing, right? I feel completely agree with that. I said, but you still have to deal with the emotional pain and the physical depression of just, okay, I'm seriously getting tired of getting kicked, right?
Right.
And we all are. I know
Sure.
I'm not alone.
You are.
Yeah,
by yourself.
I'm all by myself. Mike's like, my life's perfect. I don't know what you're talking about. I wrote my blueprint out of my own blood. It's
I have
perfect.
I have the ability to Michael Bolton to copy people's music and make it originally mine.
Isn't that what what's the comedian that does that? That always gets hammered for stealing jokes all the time.
Kevin Hart? Oh,
No.
Ralphie May used to do that. He used to get in trouble.
Yeah, it was gosh, it's gonna drive me nuts. But he just gets so much crap for it, and I know it's not Iglesias. I don't think that's Gabriel Iglesias. It's not him.
No, he's
Fluffy.
He's good. He's one of those
He's
that's
good.
selling out.
Was he a cat from? He was one of the guys from Last Comic Standing, wasn't he?
No, that was Ralphie.
Ralphie
May, yeah.
Ralphie May, Josh Blue. I really miss that show.
John Rupp.
Yeah.
Reap.
I mean,
Sorry.
yeah, and then but there's several of those guys. I'm like, man, they produced a lot of great comedians. I really
Lavelle
wish I had kept
Crawford.
them going.
Lavelle
Yeah, Lavelle Crawford.
Crawford and Reap were on the same season.
So apparently, you just have to be fat on that show to win because Ralphie May and Lavelle.
Well, Lavelle finished second?
Yeah.
To Reap. So they were 1 and 2 their season. So
Right, but still doing
yeah.
well.
Oh, Lavelle's
You know,
doing great.
yeah,
too.
it's like the American Idols. You know, people are talking about, American Idol, blah blah blah. I'm like, with the exception of Carrie Underwood, and of course
Kelly Clarkson.
Who else won?
Well, I don't think Jennifer Hudson won, but she's had
That's
a
my
great career
point
as well.
Yeah, Daughtry was left at number 7, has one of the best careers out of. So
Yeah.
Clay.
it's not winning that per se, but it's getting in there and getting that.
Right.
And I think that
Obviously, the later,
the talent
later
and work
half.
ethic is gonna
right.
it's gonna hit if you get any sort
Sure.
of it just happened to be that the first season was someone who I think was both. I think Kelly really is that good.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
And it had that kind of work ethic stuff. And as Carrie is too. But a lot of them and people are like, and I'm like, yeah, no one remembers most of them.
After about the 7th or
What's
8th season, nobody.
Right. What should that tell you? It's not, it's just, it's spewing out people. But for Last Comic Standing, like almost all those winners I remember, because there's 3-4 seasons maybe is all I
Yeah.
had.
But all of them on there were already working comics. They just needed that
Right.
platform to.
Well, Josh Blue's on America's Got Talent this
Okay.
year. And I was like, how did he do? He's like, I thought he was pretty well known, like pretty famous comedian, but I guess whatever his contract allowed him to. I mean, if I was Josh Blue, I'd go try to get $1 million too. I mean, he's going to score high because he's great,
Right.
and he's
but
got.
there's comedians that are really well known in the underground that he has a cult following.
Maybe
no
that
one-
was Josh.
but no
Maybe
one-
maybe
no
just
one-
because I was part of the cult that I
'cause,
assumed that he was.
There's another comedian I really love named Miss Pat.
Mhm.
She's getting ready. She's blown up. She now has a BET Plus TV show.
Mm.
She's on second season. She's getting ready to drop a Netflix special. But I've been following her for like maybe 5 years.
Right.
Oh, wow.
But she's
Not a
she's
household name though.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's,
I mean, I was glad that he did, but I was just like, what is he doing here? I thought he was, career bounties on him. How many Netflix specials and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, I guess it really doesn't matter though. The other scary thing is that shows you that quote unquote level of success, and he's still looking for that first big level.
That Netflix.
As
blows
for
people
me,
up.
I could lie to myself, go, man, if I had a few Netflix specials, blah, 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 I'd be on top of the world. But I'm like, I don't know that because I haven't been there.
Right.
Once again, is that his blueprint? I think Josh's blueprint is to make people laugh, period. I don't think it has any, because I don't know if you ever really watch him or listen to us, but he's just salt of the earth guy. He's incredibly smart. And he's like, I happen to have this thing that I can use as my comic gimmick. But most important, he wants that, the whole thing with the cerebral palsy and everything is just like, I'm just a guy who's really, really funny.
Right.
And I think so. Once again, it's like I start this last 3 or 4 days, all these people I'm watching to. And of course, I keep talking to Carla, my wife, who's struggling with what she wants, in this. And I'm like, she's 10 years younger than me. She's been an AVP. She's now running a job center. I mean, she's in the business world, just incredibly well respected, and she works her tail off and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, but that's not her blueprint. So I'm trying to understand. So I'm not, I think my first initial thing is like, are you kidding? Like, I mean, for her, if she was to leave and start interviewing for new jobs, if she wanted to do that, all those jobs are starting at 70, 75. Like that's her starting point.
Wow.
If I was doing that again, it would be $12 an hour.
Right.
And you're, and I'm going to be
Would
46.
you like fries with
Yeah,
that?
I'm going to be 46 in a minute. It's probably going to be retail, or something. And I'm just going. And so for me, I'd get kind of frustrated because I'm like, are you kidding your butt? I'm like, wait a minute. That's not what her blueprint was. There's certain things that she wants. And so you have to stand back and get out of the shitty committee of woe is me, right? Because everyone has their blueprint that they're not happy with. And I don't know. So it's just kind of, that's really where it's been this last week or two. And I think everyone's just like, well, you just seem so. I was like, I seem motivated because I understand I have to, but it's not like a natural motivation.
Facade.
Yeah.
You shared that Robin Williams quote where no one fakes depression.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I had that post where it's just like, and there's another one I have where it shows like, Marilyn Manson and he's on his most gothic look ever. And it's like, this is what people think depression looks like. And then below that, it's Robin Williams laughing on the set.
Right.
That's what depression looks like.
That's true.
Because someone had asked me, he's like, with depression, he's like, but why are so many depressed people? They're just so funny. I'm like, because they understand how much it hurts. They don't want anyone else to feel that way. I said, that's why I use humor all the time like that.
Sure.
Because I know where it sucks to be at that point. And not everyone does. I said a lot of people there's a lot of people who are constantly giving to homeless and to other people who are quite depressed themselves. But you would know that, they're so giving and they're so loving. I'm like, they're struggling, but they don't want them to either,
Absolutely.
Which is why people with very little usually give the most, I think, anyway, but it's just a lot of, I was like, no, it's kind of facade-ish. I mean, I am actually doing the work, but it's not far off. I would say it's definitely forced,
right?
Motivation.
Sure.
Whereas, it's just like I have to do something because otherwise I'm going to sit here and tank farther. And so at least I'm there.
We're here for you, man.
Yeah, and it is what it is. It's like we all have that.
Sure.
I said, but there's a point where, I'm kind of at a point now where there's this possibility of, if I could find somewhere to put the studio and some of the things I think I talked to you
we
about a little
talked
bit, maybe
discussed it.
But if someone could take over that building, blah, blah, blah. And so you would think that would be the motivation to go make that happen. Right. But I caught myself in my own, I don't want to say my own lie, but that thing of, okay, I know not to fear change, but I'm fearing change.
Yeah.
Because the last 3 times I did that, it did not work out well. Although I do know me, I know that I'll venture up. I'm just going to make the jump because I understand, but I'm just a little reluctant this time more than normal. And I think it's because like, oh geez, now what's going to happen if I switch gears again and try something new?
Natural fear of failure.
Yeah. I mean, y'all ever failed anything? You all been perfect your whole lives?
No, I'm on the podcast with you, so I'm guessing
this is my biggest
here on a
fail
Monday
ever.
morning. So what is that?
Just BSing because it's just this is actually our group therapy session. People don't realize it, but this is our group therapy session with microphones. So we can talk to biscuit bitches and dog poop.
And not getting any ass.
It's toll free.
Not getting ass. She didn't give me no ass. It's toll free.
Yep.
Yeah.
Call 844.
It's methane free. That it's not, or whatever.
Hey.
So what do you charge if you have to go in the house and get dog poop too?
In the house is $1,000. If I'm going to get murdered, I want to be. Because I get kids calling like, hey, I pooped in the living room. I'm like, well, that's
good
nice.
for you.
It's $1,000. We'll use your credit card. I'm like, I'm not moving out of my house unless you give me $1,000.
No, that's right.
And that gets rid of most prank calls. But the worst moment in my life is when one of my guys, I have trucks that are wrapped, and they drive by school buses, and every one of those little kids are on there. Beep, boop, 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 boop. Ha! What do you do? Ha! It's like, I don't need 20 calls from 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds, but poop. Yep.
Future comedians, they see the humor in it. So,
hey, man.
And I'd be fired immediately because I'd mess with them. Oh, this is my cover because I kidnapped children.
Driving a yellow bus.
Yeah. You want to know what's in the back seat tied up right now? Yeah.
You'll
know when you get to school because he won't be there today because there's always some kid absent, right? So they're going to go to school and be like, that kid. See, now to me, that's funny, but
you're not going to trick me again and give me the candy first.
That's right. If you really want to get,
we're a little sicker than most.
Put tacos if you really want to get me in the van. I'll die for a taco. I don't know if I'd die for a Zagnut.
A zero bar?
No, a zero bar I might die for. We have a love for zero bars.
Yeah. Old school.
I was never that cool.
To have a 0 bar?
Yeah.
Wow, you're shooting high with your blueprint.
It was
You might want to pick another blueprint.
I want to be cool by eating a 0 candy bar. Aiming high. I don't
I
know.
grew up in Ohio. I don't remember even seeing them. We were all.
I don't even know if it's a regional candy
I
or
don't
not.
think so.
Because
I've seen them all over.
have you?
but
Okay. But you don't see them that
often.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
no.
So whenever I found one somewhere, and I was like, so I brought him a 0 bar. So
That was bomb.
yeah, a lot of people, blood bond, but we just white
Candy.
chocolate bond. We just rubbed hands of white chocolate all over each other. No, I'm just
Wait,
kidding.
that's not a racial joke, right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's a weird gay sex joke,
Okay, then.
way better.
which is way better.
Right.
If you're going to piss off a group, piss off the neatly, dressed ones.
And
Yeah,
Hugh
and-
Chappelle. Oh, sorry.
No.
Too soon?
Oh,
Too
no, it's
soon?
not too soon. No, and it's funny because the most fun I've ever had is reading the people retorting to Chappelle's show.
Oh, he's just in a shit show right now.
Yeah, and
Netflix.
which is funny because I saw the picture of him where he's like hanging out down in like De Janeiro or something with his friends, and people are like, obviously he's very upset about it. He's smiling. He's like, I don't care.
Well, he just sold out a
That's
show
the
in
whole
London.
point. Oh, it made him even bigger.
Yeah.
And what ammo do they really have? Here's a real true story of a guy born with nothing who really
Absolutely.
dealt with real police racism and police brutality and still made something of himself and still fair enough to say, hey, not everyone's like that,
Right.
And I mean, that, like, what ammo do you have? The guy, I mean, to me, he's both sides of the proof that, hey, if you work hard enough, you can get yourself out of a bad situation. But he's also real enough to go, yes, those real bad situations really exist, and we shouldn't ignore it either.
Right.
And to me, he's just, it's just when he did the whole juicy smoothie. Did you? He's talking about he's
That
like,
was a great one.
guy called him a blah blah. He's like, that white people don't talk. That sounds like something that I would say. And he's
Yeah, that whole
he's like,
bit
we
was-
even felt. He goes, rarely do I feel sorry for the cops, but I feel sorry for the cops on this one. The cops going there and going, Subway sandwiches. It's 2 a.m. in Chicago. And you're okay. Hold on a second. MAGA hats. He goes, hey Franca, find out where Kanye West was last night.
Right. That was brilliant. I love that.
Oh, I think there's going to be more and more and more of that where people are just going to come out and go, we're done. We made it. Yes, bad things happen and there's blah blah blah, but
that goes back to your blueprint is that we have it's the grind. It's not the easy part. It's the grind.
right.
Just doing something every day.
Yep. Yeah. And the truth is whatever you want to do. And that's why I've talked about this before, that one of the phrases that pisses me off the most is if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So you're doing it wrong.
That's a lie.
Because
That's a crock.
that's a crock of crap. Because every person I know that is living the life they want to do works there. And I said, now, Gary V, I listen to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you listen to Gary V, but he's not even a motivational speaker. He's just a entrepreneur, and he's kind of but he just tells it like it is. Heart of gold, but he just doesn't sugarcoat anything. Like people are like,
Right.
well, you cuss a lot when you're doing your motivational speeches. He goes, well, shit. First of all, I'm not a motivational speaker. Like people just kept asking me to show up and tell my story and how do I do things. And people are like, well, Gary Vee just says the same stuff over and over. He's like, yeah, because that's what works, right? Do the work. Like find out what you need, do the work. You bust your ass, you do the work,
And
and
he still goes to garage sales and
Yeah,
buy stuff.
yeah,
I mean, he's doing the boring
he-
stuff.
that's his process. He loves the
Right.
process. But he had talked about, he goes, doing hard work on something that you love is called passion. Doing hard work
Exactly.
is something you hate is called stress. But the hard work is there, and people are like, well, that's not what the saying's supposed to say. I was like, I understand what you're trying to say, but the problem is it gives this facade of, Dolly
No,
Parton ever work a day in her life? I mean, you kidding? She still works
She's still
constantly
she's still tearing it up.
tearing it up because and that's why she is there. And so I try to repel that when I tell people, like, no, it's absolutely the opposite in my opinion, because I tell you right now, when I was at a job that I didn't like, I didn't work at all. I did enough to not get fired. I was totally the Office Space, right? It motivated me just in
Guitar Center.
yeah. Well, Guitar
You did
Center
work
was the
there.
lesson that I learned where I gave it everything that I have and believed in the company, and then the company shit on me.
Got it.
And I tell people, it's like,
dog poop.
yeah. And unfortunately, Carla had to learn that too, where I'm like, the car, the job title, and the money and all that, it's for the position.
Right.
It's not you. They don't give a shit about you. And
You're
she, it's like,
replaceable.
you're replaceable, right? I said, if you were to die, the job would be posted before your obituary.
Yeah, before you're even cold.
Yeah, and that's truth. I said, so, and then unfortunately she learned the hard way when COVID hit and they got rid of a lot of AVPs and everything
She
was
was
gone.
out. Yep.
And so, but no, there were certain, and then even then I can tell people are like, oh, those years at Guitar Center is like completely not wasted. I learned so much from there, from a lot of the fail aspects, things not to do, things I know a blueprint I don't want to be a part of, right?
Right.
Get in their pocket, but there's a lot of things that I did learn, because you can't, even if you're having a lot of issues and you're being, whatever, the problems that GC has right now, you're not a company for 40 years unless you're doing some things are correct. Right. And so I tried to pick what those two things were. But most of it's wrong. They're just, and it gets worse and worse.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, I don't think anything that I've ever done was time wasted. I really trying to pull something from that.
You can always learn from anything that you're doing in life, or
be like,
whatever you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or from anybody.
You should pull something out of that,
right?
Even if it's just because people talk about, well, are you going to learn anything new at Tarpley? I mean, that business inside out, blah blah blah. I said, what I get from Tarpley? I said, I get a great time.
Right.
We got great staff there. We have a blast.
Awesome staff.
And it's just, and the thing is that I don't have any worries of, oh, I got to learn the gear or blah 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 or anything like that, because I already know it. So really, I said it's actually kind of relaxing. I said, now I don't like the, we talk about the BS busy work and stuff, but they have to, because they're the company, and, a guy and the manager of that, Chaz, is just an awesome dude.
He's a cool dude.
He's so great. And he's really good at what he does. But of course he has to be like, hey, we needed to, and we get that.
Sure.
We think it's dumb, but we understand his position. So, because we've both been there telling people to do busy work we didn't even necessarily want them to do. But
right.
I mean, that was kind of the gig, And so, but the thing is that, okay, cool. So we're around Dustin, they're doing busy work, and we're still talking and making the same jokes and stuff. And Chad's like, awesome. Like he doesn't want that vibe to change.
Right.
So it's,
something.
And so I said, no, I said, it's great. I said, otherwise I wouldn't be. I mean, because I don't need it.
Right.
Per se, I said, but I do enjoy being there and stuff. So I think you can pull anything from any
it's a
job.
discount, you get
it's the discounts too. That was actually Carla's idea. We'll talk about that when we get back.
Awesome.
Anyway, come back to us. Today we're talking about Unfulfilled. Well, so are we is the title of today's show, and we'll be back here in a couple minutes. And this has been great.
Yeah, it's good first half.
This is just talking. Love it.
Yeah.
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 Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-491-8289. 800-491-8289. 800-491-8289. That's 800-491-8289.
Out-of-date carpet giving you the blues? Tired of your old dingy and broken tile? Let my friends at the Floor Store in Cleveland, Texas give your home the makeover it deserves. This is Old Taco Joe coming to you for the Floor Store. Whether it's carpet, tile, wood flooring, or real wood laminate, the Floor Store can cover all of your flooring needs. Located at 405 West Henderson Street in Cleveland, Texas, owner Brent Harris can help. Shower tile, tub surrounds, even backsplashes. Give them a call today at 817-641-9444. The Floor Store, they got you covered.
When you're hungry for tender brisket or some delicious homemade cobbler, then look no further than Leach Brothers Barbecue, located at 1106 East Henderson, Cleveland, Texas. Leach Brothers has been family-owned and operated since 1950. Take it from me, Taco Joe Orwinski. Todd and his family have been filling my belly breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a long time. Heck, I even have my own booth, open Monday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come see them for dine-in, carry-out, and all your catering needs.
Joco Community Radio.
That lady
Listen
is
live
crazy.
at tunein.com.
So anyone who is listening, this music is going away. So I got to remind Ron to do it. Hey, Ron, are you listening? I got to take this music out. We're just going to use Spirit of the Radio for everything. If you're not listening, then wake up or sober up or do something. We are back. We're having a great discussion today. Feeling unfulfilled? Well, guess what? So are we. Which really is really a whole show title in itself. But I think it's great that some people that I'm around a lot, especially with males, a lot of my best friends now I'm realizing are really open about talking about anything. Are you looking at midget porn while we're...
You're not supposed to put that on blast, bro. But thanks, though. I appreciate that.
No, it's amputee midget porn.
No, I was looking at that Australian comedian that we were talking about on break.
You watching them having 1.5 some?
Right. 3/4. Okay. No,
pop.
Judith Lucy was who I was talking about.
Oh, I have. Yes.
She's a riot, man.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's, and I've told people this for my biggest... People say, well, anytime you want to do anything, man, you just do it. And I said, there's one exception to that. My biggest dream ever is to be a stand-up comedian. It's the one thing I've never done. People are like, that's your number one dream. I was like, it's my number one bucket list thing. I have the material. I literally practice it. I just haven't got on stage and done it yet. And people are like, I find that really hard to believe. You've played in front of thousands of people. And I'm like, I have an instrument behind me.
Right.
I can play in front of 50,000 people, no problem. I'll get on stage and do it. I'm hiding behind this thing.
Right.
I said, stand up, man, is you and a microphone.
And that's it.
Go. And you have no idea if the crowd's going to react or not. I said, and that to me is just, I know I will one day, but that's my hardest. And so that's my biggest thing. And I think if I could find maybe an amateur night somewhere, and I've got a few friends that are pretty well known in the comedy world now for whatever reason, and they're like, dude, why are you, I'm like, I don't know. Like I can hide, but I said, even if it's just me and a microphone and there's a song, you're hiding behind the song. It's, it's prepared. Here's how it goes. Sure. Right. But for some reason, man, I don't know. I can't get on stage to stand up. So I got to find like an amateur stand up and just get up there and do it.
I have a friend of mine that I went to high school with, and he, obviously this is pre-COVID, clearly, but he did the same thing. He just started kind of going to amateur open mic nights, and
because usually it's like a 4 or 5 minute set, right? I mean, they're really like quick. I mean, so it's not like, and I know I've got enough material because I have all my mental hospital material that I've done, and I've got a lot of other material that and I have segments.
Right.
It's weird because people are like, you're fearless. I'm like, I am, and everything but that.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. And I know that I'm going to bomb a handful of times.
Well, not everything will
not
bomb,
every time
but
either.
That's how you figure out what's gonna stick and what's gonna people are gonna love. Okay, that's out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
move on.
I tried that 2 or 3 times and never gotten anything. So you chunk it, and it's really similar. I mean, music's similar the same way.
Exactly.
But it's easier when you're doing a lot of cover songs. So you can be like, okay, well, no one likes that song that I didn't write.
Classics. Yeah.
But for me, it's okay. Here's material I think's hilarious that no one else thinks funny in the world, And so it's the most. I think it's one of the most vulnerable, entertaining professions.
Oh, absolutely.
You and a microphone, and I think and I tell people this, like people who do solo dancing, I don't like rap or hip hop or dance music at all. Like I just hate it when I hear it. But when I watch a killer dance group or a dancer doing it to that style of music, to me, the music has nothing to do with it. It's the vehicle for the dance.
Right.
So at that point, I'm not listening to it as a music thing. And I'll sit and watch. I'm going, this is amazing, because anyone can capture you by themselves on a stage, whether it's just is amazing to me. And for dance to do, which I know nothing about, but like some of these people are like, dude, this is so crazy looking, and so I have a newfound respect for that. And a lot of it came from just, Facebook scrolling and seeing, certain video might be. And I'm just like, you know what? I hate the music aspect of it because I just but I love watching these dancers, and of course it has to be that music because it's a vehicle for what they're doing.
Right.
So I've kind of gotten a new respect for that stuff too. Music,
Sure.
EDM it's not my cup of tea in the sense of profession,
Of course.
but it's
Is that-
got to be there. And
Is
it's
that your excuse for watching all those hours of TikTok?
no, that's because I don't sleep.
Sleep, what's that?
Yeah, sleep. And but the thing is the other with comedy is that there's constantly material, right?
Of course.
And
Look outside.
I mean, walk outside and talk
everywhere.
to people. You'll probably get a 2-minute bit if you
Exactly.
And so, but there's a lot of I've got to do that. I've just got to get somewhere. And people are like, would you want to get in a room full of people with everyone you know? Oh, geez. Asshole over here is finding me places he's going to make me go.
I was going to say I was going to message my buddy and see.
No,
if he knows any
I just
places
and
going
I'm
on.
going to need that. I'm going to need that push to do it. So
We got your back, man.
Yeah. I'll go up
As
there
we're
and
pushing you on the stage.
But quite honestly, I think I'd rather get in front of total strangers than
Us.
Yeah, because I know the people around me what they think is funny, and stuff like that.
That's why we're here. 'cause we
Right.
think you-
Yeah. Because but the room full of total strangers, as
Right.
difficult as that's going to be, is that real test. That's why I tell people I have no problem musically sitting in front of a bunch of people I don't know. I wouldn't even care if it's 50 musicians out there. Not because I think I'm a badass, but I do know my level of ability
Talent,
where
right.
I know that I can hang, or if someone goes, oh, this is good, but this, then I can take it as okay, cool. I need to work on that. Because
Right.
I'm at least at some sort of a level of success.
Sure.
But for comedy, it's just like, you remember when people laugh and that was awesome?
Let's try that.
So-
Let's go with that concept.
Yeah.
You were supposed to laugh there, guys.
Yeah.
That was the joke.
You're not.
Push
Okay.
that
We're going to
button,
try
the
this
laugh
again.
track, yeah.
And then, and I think it's my other biggest fear is that I listen to so much stand-up comedy. I'm like, I have to make sure that everything I'm writing down and rehearsing is actually mine.
Right.
Because I'm like, did I come with that? I mean, that's because there's so much of that in my head. And I mean, of course, all comedians, just like musicians, all comedians take ideas from other comedians, put their spin on it. That's because people will say that. Oh, I've kind of heard a joke. I'm like, okay.
What about that coffee?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Let's talk about air travel.
Yeah.
No one's ever done that.
Yeah, that's a new concept.
But the point is that every song you hear is the same 4 chords rearranged, and so it's the music is it's the same animal. I'm like, what are you talking about? Musicians do it constantly. I mean, so it's to me, is it the material itself, or is it the performance that matters? Now, if you flat out plagiarize, that's different,
Interpolation.
Yeah. But then I'll have 2 or 3 of my favorite comedians will have the same topic real similar, and it's 3 completely different laughs because it's that different little
Right.
Because
There's
comedy is
different
all
spin.
about exaggeration, right?
Right.
Something has to be exaggerated. But because my Jim Gaffigan's and my Brian Regan's and all my
Bill
top
Burr and-
Bill Burr and all those top comedians that I listen to constantly. Even John Panette before he passed was one of my favorites.
Get out of the line.
Yeah, but it's they all can talk about the same topic. They could literally do it on the same night, back to back to back, and the whole crowd would laugh the whole entire time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the amazing thing to me. It's just like, because people go, we've kind of heard this before, But then again, most concerts you go to nowadays, it's an hour of the same song over and over, and they just don't know it.
Right.
But
Hopefully they don't play their one hit the first,
First time
5-10 minutes. Yeah.
well, I told you about Sugar Ray at the.
That's what I was referring.
Yeah.
That's what I was
Did I
trying
tell you
to.
about that?
Yep.
Yeah, I was just like, really? You're going to start with that? Like, the whole crowd just disperses. We don't know anything else. We're leaving. We're going to go. We got to find some deep fried butter to get this bad taste of my Sugar Ray out of my
Twice
mouth.
fried bacon.
But quite honestly, the band sounded fantastic. I mean, I don't know. His band is tight. It sounded really, really good. Like, I mean, I don't hate him by any means, but I wasn't a huge fan. But I was sitting there because we had gone up and we're listening. I was just like, this band sounds good, And for me, that's an instant respect for anything. They sound good live like that and they're tight. Then I'm like, these are talented guys. Whether I like the music or not is almost irrelevant a lot of times. And we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Certain bands that were like, I don't really like them or listen to them, but are they? Of course they're talented. I mean,
Exactly.
I'm talking about what gets me moving,
absolutely.
what turns me on or not besides Mike. So
And
hairy ass legs.
midget
I
porn.
have to make sure I wear the short shorts next week.
Short shorts.
Got the well tails.
I'm gonna braid my leg hair. Sexy.
Memories.
So yeah, anyway,
Good times.
there's good times. So yeah, and I know that there's a lot of the amateur stand-up nights that they'll have. It's pretty much kind of, and my fear is, and maybe you know this since you have close friends that do it, but is that like the karaoke of stand-up, or is it a different respect?
Yes and yes. So you're
Well-
gonna it's not about having success, it's about getting comfortable with your art.
Right. And
Because-
then to go really do auditions and things
Because
like that.
you, as a musician, I'm sure the first time you were on stage is different than now.
Oh yeah.
And that's comedians. You have to get up there and you have to work your material. And
Right. And I honestly don't even remember
I don't know if you've
because it's
watched,
been so long. But
the marvelous Miss Maisel.
Mason.
Uh-uh.
That's a great series on
It is.
Amazon, and it's about a woman in the 50s or 60s who goes through a life change and ends up becoming a stand-up comedian.
She gets a divorce and
Awesome.
she wants to be a comedian, and of course,
So it's a series?
befriends her.
Oh,
and
it's
all
a
that
series.
Stuff. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
They've already done
Dude.
2 seasons.
I totally got
it's
it.
really, really.
I totally got to see this.
Well done, very well done.
And who's the tall lady that does a lot of comedy that's in there? She's the
That's a huge bitch.
no, it's
You beat me to that.
I know. I can see it
Biscuit
in your
bitch.
brain.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was right there.
Give it to the
Um,
circus.
She's the one that she does the character acting, but she's all hoity-toity. Gives her a fur coat in the 2nd season.
Oh goodness, I can't.
Jane something. She was on
Jane Lynch.
Jane Lynch is in it.
Yeah.
as
Oh,
well.
Jane Lynch is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah,
she's
in the
hilarious.
series as
Well, she's in all the Christopher Guest movies and a lot of them. I mean, Best in Show, and she was in Mighty Wind. And,
Best in Show is such an awesome movie.
yeah, the Best in Show, Spinal Tap, Waiting for Guffman.
We only have a pink. We've only gotten the pink slip. Would that card just still work? Try it again.
God, I love it. I'm a huge fan of those movies. So the last thing I want to talk a little bit is I talked to you guys about this, but if people haven't seen it, is if you haven't seen Afterlife, Ricky Gervais, right?
Yes.
And I actually went back and started watching them again just because it's an amazing show. But now you have to understand British. I say comedy, but there's a lot of drama in it. Well, it's really dramatic comedy, in my opinion. So if you don't understand a lot of the language per se, you might have to watch it a few times. But I tell people, really, I mean, if you've watched the original Office with Ricky Gervais,
Right.
and certain things like that. I said, but man, incredible show. It's a guy who his wife has died of cancer, and they had like the ultimate, like that was his one thing. They had the most amazing relationship, everything like that. So he's very suicidal. He doesn't want to live. So basically in the first episode or two, he goes around and says whatever he wants to say to people, and he doesn't really care. And he's just, and so the series is him struggling and trying to get back on his feet in his life. And you start seeing these patterns in his life where he goes in this, and then he goes to the cemetery and he meets this really nice lady who lost her husband of 45 years. And he gets this, you start to see his, because I've always told people the big thing that changed me is I'm brain farting on my ritual changed, right? Your rituals change. And so his new rituals, he kind of goes here and he goes, in dealing with it. But he has the beginning, and he works this little free newspaper. His brother-in-law, who also lost his sister, obviously, runs it. And he's sitting there talking to him. He's just like, I can say whatever I want to people. And if it gets too much, then I can just kill myself. It's like a superpower. And his brother-in-law is like, that's the worst superhero I've ever heard of, But the thing is that I've been there. And the difference is where I'm going with this, because it's in my life, is that he starts to get where he doesn't necessarily suicidal in the sense of thinking about doing it, but he still has that view of, I'm going to live. I don't care. If I do die, fine. If not, I'm going to do the best I can while I'm here. And I tell people that's where I am. That's where I've been. Like, I don't fear death at all. That doesn't mean I want it.
Right.
And I think people are like, oh, you can. I'm like, I'm not saying I want it. I don't want to die. I got plans. I'm just saying it doesn't scare me.
Right.
And there is a freedom to that, which is why I'm going to open a store. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to have a radio show. I'm just like, whatever. I mean,
right.
If the one thing that I did after my first divorce, actually, that I got kicked out of the house. The day job that I had at the time, a month later, they laid off 12% of their workforce. I was one of them.
That was ideal.
So I'm just like, let's just bring it on. Let's just put on the.
Let's keep it piling it on. Let's go.
More money. And so it's just like, holy
you're saying
geez.
you didn't have any problems?
So I had zero problems. Everything was fan-freaking-tastic.
Lollipops and rainbows.
No job. Couldn't see my kids. Just got divorced. Yeah, it was wonderful. I recommend it. 4 stars. Anyway, so but I was playing a ton. Like I was taking any acoustic gig I could, because I could easily work 4 or 5 nights a week, but it might be $50-$75 in a place I don't want to play or whatever. But at that time I had no choice. So I mean, I remember doing about 100 gigs probably that last half of the year. I mean, I just was playing because that was my only income. So during the day I was going crazy. I was trying to find a job. And so I don't remember how I met this lady so much. She goes, "Hey, would you want to come volunteer at a hospice and just bring your guitar? Maybe if they want to hear a song or something." She goes, "What's your song repertoire like?" I'm like, "It's pretty big, So I was like, "Sure, I'll do that." And knowing that I'm going to go into a very depressing situation that's very emotional because these people are literally dying, I said, I think this is something I need to do, right? Well, here's the funny thing. I rarely ever played any songs because people just wanted to talk.
Right.
They wanted someone to hear their story.
Exactly.
Or were they just you couldn't figure out the song they wanted?
Yeah.
Play that song that goes.
There's that one too, where like, I think the morphine has taken over. And
Crash Test Dummies?
Crash Test. Okay. Yeah, here we go.
All right.
And most of the time when I did, it was usually like a hymn or an old folk tune or something like. But I rarely did. They just wanted, and to me that was amazing. But here's the thing that really scared the shit out of me is every single person I talked to, and I don't mean a few or half. Every single one I talked to talked about regret. Every single one of them, and it wasn't regret and stuff they did. It was every single one. It was I regret not. I regret not. I regret not. And I remember for a month I was just, and that literally just completely changed my world around. That scared me worse than anything. Which is why I keep throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying things. You know, I'm also in a situation where I've been able to do that because, with Carla's job and things like that. But it's getting close to a point now where that's starting to wear thin. I'm really going to have to get figuring some
Get
things.
your shit together.
Right. And I think that's the scary part is that part of the blueprint where I'm like, okay, but I still have to help the household, and that's pressure I'm putting on myself. It's not from her. It's really not. It's from me knowing that, okay, she's done this long enough. It's time for me to, but man, I'm telling you, every single one of them, I just regret not doing this. I really wanted to be a singer. This one guy was just, and it's funny because this one guy I really bonded with, but when he was a kid, he lived up north most of his life. He really wanted to play hockey, and that hit with me because that's all I wanted to do as a kid.
Sure.
That's all I wanted to do was play hockey, but they didn't have that down here in Paris, Texas. Well, so I ended up doing a lot of acting and playing, and it's just, it's the same thing when they talk to Rush. It's like, well, none of us could play hockey, so we formed a band because they're all Canadian, right?
Right.
And people are laughing. They're like, well, we're dead serious because that was
it's either hockey or curling.
Yeah, and it's either hockey or become Rush. Those are the options in Canada. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, and so, but he talked about that. I mean, and it just, you could see it in his face. Like he just, he goes, I could have played adult hockey and I didn't do that. Just, no, I'm too old now and blah, blah, blah. And this whole thing, and I'm going, shit.
Right.
Because that's something I still want to do because there's a lot of leagues around here that are for beginners, for people between 40 and 60. So there's no excuse. And I'm not the only one who wants to. A lot of guys are doing it. But once again, it's that, okay.
So are you going to do that in all your free time?
That's the problem is there's no free time. Right?
And
it's expensive to do. That's the other problem.
Yeah.
But on the same hand, it's like, okay, but if I get to a situation where I can, I'll do that. Like, I'm not afraid to do it. It's, and I think a lot of people, well, just do it. You're afraid to. I'm like, I'm not afraid to do many things. It's literally tangible time and money capability that I'm not, it's just maybe on the back burner, but I never put anything away in that sense. But I don't know, man. I just,
I can't wait to see you out there on your walker.
As a walker, the walker's going to have blades.
Yes.
And so actually what I really thought about doing is the one position they always need is goalies. And so I think that's probably people like, really? I'm like, yeah, I had no problem with people flaring pucks at me. Like I have no worry of doing that. So the problem is this is most expensive for gear.
Yeah.
And so, but he goes, but you get, I mean, even if you can just stand on your skates and kind of block a shot, you can play as much as you want because that's the one thing they're always needing are goalies.
Sure.
So I'm like, okay, I'm totally cool with that. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I'll do it. I think I'll do it one day. There's just
you watched Friday the 13th way too much.
I did.
The ski mask?
No, I think I just watched hockey way.
Well, I was going to say that's the mask he should wear is where those old school, hockey.
Oh, hell
masks.
no. I'm wearing a big old thing with a neck protector. Those hurt when they hit you. I'm still pretty. I want to keep my pretty.
This is my moneymaker.
This is so not my moneymaker. My hands are. That's what scares me. Yeah. Which is why. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that here.
Hey, it's yours too,
Different
man.
kind of show.
Yeah, hey, someone got my information from the music store. Let's read this. I was interested in information for percussion lessons for my son. Okay, I know a guy who does it. This is how you beat it.
Left, right,
Left, right.
left,
Yeah.
right.
Well, I know because you're listening to your son.
Yeah,
Ignore me.
Switch
So-
hit. Oh, wait.
All right, you pitching or
Oh, whoa.
pitching or catching? That's a difference.
That's a different show.
Did you guys do any sports growing up? Did you?
I did soccer as a really young kid.
I did too, and I
that's-
loved it. Actually,
I did too, and I mean,
I actually watch. I can watch soccer as long as they're not.
I still
dives.
watch it. Obviously, I mean, you know that.
Yeah.
So
I like watching it until they do the whole dive thing, and then my ankle hurts now. But now that I realize that it's actually part of the game in a sense, it's very similar to, people don't understand like checks and fighting in hockey. They don't understand. I'm like, it's a motivational thing. It's part of the gameplay. But I do love the sport. I love watching
sport.
the soccer.
Yeah.
But I did too, and then I played because my parents are the kind of, if you try something, you're going to finish it. So one of my least favorite sports in the whole world is baseball. And I tried it, and I was really, really bad at it. I had to play the whole year. But I did because the one sport I wanted to play. Now, I did play tennis for 2 or 3 years on a tennis team. I was actually pretty good at that. But other than that, when it got to middle school and it was...
Speaking of short shorts.
Band,
oh, wait.
Short shorts. It's one of those that it's fun to get out and play in the form of exercise, but I would rather shit a fork sideways than watch it on TV because it's just... Hey, watch this. They're going to hit it back and forth again. Or
NASCAR.
It's the same
another left turn.
Take a left turn.
It's 400 feet.
And Mitch
turn.
Mitch Hedberg talking about, I want to be a race car passenger. I just want to be the guy that bugs the driver. Say, man, why we keep going in circles? Can I put my feet out the window? Man, you sure like Tide.
Like Tide. Nice.
Another one who passed to I actually had tickets to see him the year he died.
Oh.
I was like, because he was going to be at, I'm pretty sure it was at Hyenas in Addison.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was there. And I also had made plans to see John Panette the year he died, who is one of my favorites.
So don't have you buy tickets to our shows. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, don't. Yeah.
One of us have to buy.
Well, no, because I've seen several comedians who haven't died. So.
Okay,
that's good.
Because I watch a lot of them.
Okay.
Yes. I've seen. I got to see Brian Regan at the Toyota. That was a year or two ago, and it was brilliant. And have you been to that facility, the Toyota? Yeah, he is coming back, same place.
Yep.
But it's got 3 levels of openness that it does. So if they open everything on the back wall, then it's like huge concert where you have general and and then they can do another one where it's all enclosed, and then they have a third one where it can be even smaller, like a smaller amphitheater.
Oh wow.
And it's brilliant because you get 3 levels of access.
Sure.
Yeah. The secret is to get the middle section because they're actual seats. The floor is just hard chairs, like
hard chairs.
And
then actual seats, and then
in the back
the
section
greenery,
is just the field.
Right. Yep, the field.
Bring a blanket.
Yeah.
So the middle.
But I actually got
section
on
is
a metal
the
chair
good
up in the front, but it was fine which isn't as bad for stand up. For a concert, it kind of sucks because they tend to be a lot longer or whatever. Brian was hilarious, and then his opening guy too. I can't remember now. I'd have to look him up, but I've actually went and he was really, really good. And I wouldn't mind opening for Brian Regan, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to follow him. And actually, Jerry Seinfeld said that. They were talking about what comedian would you not want to follow? He's like, Brian Regan. I wouldn't want to follow Brian Regan. And they're all like, really? He's like, yeah, because he's never not killed it. Even great comedians have had. He goes, but I've never seen. And he goes, not to mention, he's really that cool of a dude. Like that's how nice he's just really nice. And because he talks a lot about how when he's at parties, he's like, I'm actually really awkward at parties, because it's not arranged like this. Like I don't go to a party and go, okay, everyone stand over there, and then Brian stand right there. He goes, it's not. You're like, oh, what people are behind me? Hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, and I could see that because I'm the same way. Like I don't have stage fright. I really hate not being on the stage. Watching a show is hard. I know you probably get that too, where you're just like, which is great. I'm enjoying it, but I'm like, that's where I'm supposed to be. It's people don't understand. Why can't you sit back and enjoy the show? And I'm like, because that's what I do. It's really kind of hard to.
Well, that and judging what they're doing. It's like, oh, I could have done that better, or
Oh, is that what you do? You're one of those assholes. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I am. Totally. No, but you always.
Well, it depends on the concert, because there's
Right.
plenty of concerts you and I have left going, we're selling all our shit.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm out. But no, it's it's one of those things that you like. Well, what would I have done in that particular space, or that.
Yeah.
You're always.
It's literally, man, I wish I could be behind a band like that.
Exactly.
I mean, it's always something, It's kind of like when you're watching Ladies on the Pole, right? Like
at Buck's.
Look at that, no argument. He didn't even say anything.
At Buck's Cabaret. Buck's Cabaret.
I've never wanted to be a pole so bad in my life.
Why do you stop? Why do you beat your wife?
What? Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, soup is not a meal, Vera. That's an American Dad thing. Yeah, I won't do the rest of that because I'll have every woman in Burleson calling me. But anyway, well, fellas, this has been awesome. So this is our segment of Unfulfilled. Well, so are we, but that's okay. It's okay because we all are. There's always I think it's only bad when you quit trying to figure out that blueprint and work towards it.
Yeah.
Laugh more, make jokes, make fun of your friends. That's what keeps us all friends.
Exactly.
If I never make fun of you, I don't like you. I just tell you now.
I tell people that all the time.
If I'm nice constantly, like weird nice, and I never say anything else, then I'm totally faking it. Just so you know.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, that's right. Or make it while you're faking it. Or
wait.
Or
it's got to be your bull.
It's got to be your bull. If you can't take the heat, wear it. No, that's not right.
Become a policeman?
No.
We're on donuts now?
If the shoe fits, get out of the kitchen. That's it.
We literally wait to the last 30 seconds.
If the shoe fits, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
I got nothing. Anyway, guys, share. Go to Joco
Love you guys.
page.
See you next week.
And please like their page. Awesome.
Woo.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, Joco Community Radio.
News